Today and all about that bass, I am aging jam. It is jam, right? Jason had written asking for some help trying to figure out a formula to build some kind of formatting he wants to use to represent the dates of some canning he's doing for fruits and vegetables and who knows what else it's going to be. This is the format that he wants to come from this formula field. So a number and then a period and then 2 digits here. The first digit represents how many years ago this thing was canned, and then the 2 digits there are for a certain number of months. So if it's an even year, it would be about like in this. For just shy of a year, it would be 11 months and 0 years. And then for older ones, it would have like 2 years and 3 months. So to build this, we're going to start by making a formula field. I'm going to call this age, and it's going to be a formula. So the first thing I want to play with here is how do we determine the difference in date between this date and today. That is done with the date time diff. Now I often just put diff in here. I know it's the unique piece of that thing. Date time diff is the first thing chosen. Enter to select that function. And now I can say, okay, what is where it's going from? So I'm going to start off by putting in the date field. And then what I'm going to is today. Actually, now is a more accurate representation. So I want now, I can enter to select that. And then I want to see, let's just kind of play around with it and say how many years there are. And so I'll put a quote, I'll type in years. We'll leave it at that for now and see how that goes. One thing to check also is to see if you have positive or negative numbers. So if you want this to be like -1 versus a +1, you can do it like that. But I actually want positive numbers for a little cleaner representation here. So I'm going to reverse the order of my items here. So I'm going to cut the date out of here and paste that after as a second item in here. So between now going back to the previous date, how many years is that? So Airtable rounds off that calculation. So now we have, 1 year here, 0 years and some number of months for that one, and then 2 years for this one. So the first part of that's working out pretty well. So now we have that. We're going to add in, using the ampersand operator, a period, and then now we'll do how many months is this on the end. If we only do the raw months, so let's just say there is a month's difference you can do. So let's just grab this piece here, highlight it, copy it. If I paste that in, but change this to months, this is what we'll get. We'll get an error. Oh, I forgot to do my other ampersand. There we go, to separate that other piece. So now we have, 1 year, and wait, it's 12 months, but that's the year that we already have. So we don't need the actual raw number of months, but we need to figure out how many multiples of a year are represented by that number, and then take the number of months that's left. To do that kind of remainder calculation, we use the mod function. So if I just pop back in here and wrap this difference, so if I just wrap this with the mod function, what the mod function does is it takes the number represented by the first part of your function here, divides it by the second number, and then returns the remainder. So if I do this, so the raw number here coming back is the number of months difference between these two dates. If I say divide that by 12, and then give me the remainder. So if I save this out, we now have this, 1 year, 0 months, or 0 years, 11 months, 2 years, 3 months. However, I want to have cleaner formatting like this, and I think Jason did too. So I need to add a second digit in here that represents an extra placeholder only when it's needed. Now that's actually pretty easy to do by figuring out how long the actual digits are representing that current thing, and then padding leading zeros on the beginning where we need them. So here's how we're going to do that. We're actually going to copy this piece because we need to know how long that number is. So what I'm going to do is add one more piece in here before that, and in here I want to do a repeat. The rep function here repeats a certain character or series of characters you specify a certain number of times. What I'm going to repeat is a 0, and repeat that thing however many characters we need to fill in, so we have 2 digits total. So I want that to be 2 minus the length, use the length function in here, the length of that number that came back from this. Now, because this is an actual number, I can't grab the length directly. So what I need to do is format that as a string. So I'm going to do empty string here, concatenate that with the function that we just added, that mod function, and just paste that in. So now it takes the length of that number. So for 2 digits, 2 minus 2 is 0. So don't pad any zeros there. For 0 digits, come back out from this one. Actually, what came back from that was a single 0, so pad 1 more 0 on the front, and same thing for down in here. So now when we save this out, we have what we need. So we have 1 year, 0 months, 0 years, 11 months, 2 years, 3 months, and everything looks good. That's it for now. Remember to subscribe if you want to see what's next, and give this a like if you like. I'll see you next time.